Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, depending on where you are catching this from. I just want to say happy Friday, if that makes you feel good. Happy Friday. I also say happy Monday though, so it's kind of hard to say. But today we are closing out the series on radical authenticity and emotional intelligence. So if you could drop me a hashtag live or hashtag replay, some emojis, let me know how you're feeling today on Friday. Let's get our comment section on and popping this morning for me. Chris is saying it. Happy Friday. Good morning. Yes. And Krista and I are actually doing a call tomorrow. We're going to do some role play. So I'm pretty excited about that. I think it's a lot of fun and very productive to do role play. As part of your, understanding of your own sales process and business development and things like that. So first today, like I said, we're talking about radical authenticity and social management. Social management is basically like your relationships and interactions with other people. So we talked about in previous, episodes, if you will. This week, we talked about your self-awareness, your self-management, and social awareness. Those are the three other parts of this series. And your social management is the, really that expression of all of those other pieces. And so the reason why this is important is, again, because radical authenticity isn't about just flying off the rails with whatever emotion you've got going on. Radical authenticity, when you're really deeply rooted into your authentic self, when you're anchored there, you realize that your emotions are actually not part, which means that your emotions are feedback, they're data that you can use to achieve the goals that will fulfill the self. Right. And so again, just like flying off at somebody because they sent you an email that made you upset, or because they cut you off on your way to work. If you stay in that bad mood and then take that mood out on your team or your teammates, how does that further your long-term goals? It doesn't. And actually, in all of those things, there were different elements of emotional intelligence that come into play there. But the one we're going to focus on today is the social management piece. And so that first one, first kind of sub area that we want to talk about is developing relationships. And please tell me what business is if it's not developing relationships. Like, oh my goodness, like people have seen their businesses soar and plummet based on their relationships, especially with COVID-19. Am I right or am I right? And so it's really about like getting along with others, but like cultivating and nurturing the long-term personal and professional relationships that matter most to you, right? That not just help you further along like your business goals, but also offer you something in other areas of your life in return. And so that's something that's really important. Like you have to take an active role in nurturing and keeping your relationships alive. Drop anything, drop an emoji, gif, whatever you want in the comments, and let me know if you've got some personal relationships that you've neglected. And by neglected, I just mean maybe you used to talk once a week, maybe you used to talk once a month, and now you're like, geez, it's been a really long time since I talked to that person. And it's somebody who's very important to you, somebody who you're like, oh my goodness, yes, I absolutely would, do pretty much anything for them. I have a few relationships like that myself, and I actually wrote it down as my monthly goal to make sure that I reached out and talked with those people, because I don't want me getting busy being the reason that these relationships fall apart. So yes, Francia. Hi. Thank you for being here. And thank you for the emojis. I think we all kind of have those relationships in our lives that we've kind of let go a little bit, not because they're not valuable relationships, because the ones I'm talking about mean the world to me. But, sometimes we let busy get in the way of what really matters. Right. And so we're going to move into the second area, which is leadership and influence. And so your self-awareness ties into this piece, your boundaries tie into this piece, your integrity ties into this piece. You have to have all of those things before you're able to really step into your right place as a leader and have the influence that you're probably looking for. And a lot of this is operating with warmth and likability, but then the integrity comes in here too, right? Because people don't support leaders that they don't feel operate from a place of integrity. It's also being, delivering on what your obligations are, and then, be helping others be successful and kind of cultivating growth in other people. We're often measured by the impact that we can have on other people, and so that when we're looking at our teams, whether you're the CEO, entrepreneur, leader, or if you're a leader within a company, looking at your teams, your impact will be measured by them and how they, the work that they do. And that's incredibly important as you consider this influence and leadership piece as part of your social management. And then the third one is the response to change. How well do you respond to change? And as entrepreneurs, I can tell you, I bet a lot of us do not respond to change as well as we would like to. And I'm going to use an example. I had on Tuesday this week, I had 2 people cancel on me within 24 hours of our appointment. One of them was the night before, and one of them was the morning of. And I think further back in my journey as an entrepreneur, I would have been like, seriously, it's too late to put anything else in there. Like, it just completely booked up time that someone else could have used, and really being very me, I about it, right? I was not able to come from a place of empathy there. And when I found out the night before that somebody wasn't going to be able to do a call with me, I was like, oh, okay, well, you know what? Don't worry about it. Take care of what you need to take care of. And that actually gives me a bit of free time I wasn't going to give myself. So I'm going to do something nice with that time. And then I had the second person cancel on me, and those were back-to-back calls. So my afternoon went from having 2 calls to having no calls. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to do something really nice with this time. And I was completely at peace over that change. Now, I'm not saying you can bring that type of peace and calm to all of the changes that occur, but your social management piece, and it will impact your teammates and your clients and anybody else that you interact with, is how resilient are you that you can snap back from a change. Give yourself a few minutes, feel bad about it if that's what you need to do to feel bad about it. But otherwise, okay, how are we moving forward now? So you take a moment to acknowledge and accept and understand, and then we have to look at moving forward. And so that helps you grow, not just on an individual level, but it helps your team grow. It helps the people involved with you grow when they can watch you demonstrate that type of leadership. Let's look at negotiation and conflict. Okay, so this is an area that gets a lot of attention because conflict is often associated with negative emotions, right? Negotiation is always kind of looked at as something that's fraught with tension. But when you are able to negotiate and talk and negotiate not just deals, but negotiate conflicts from a place of abundance, from a place of a mindset of solution with a mindset of collaboration, what's best for everyone. When you're able to approach a situation that way, it very much improves your response in these types of situations and keeps you out of the scarcity mindset. You want to be able to cope with conflict through positive and proactive approach, not something that's reactive that causes you to move from your emotions without actually analyzing and assessing those emotions for the data that they can give you. So there's nothing wrong. You see me come here being really passionate, and I'm like, but I'm bringing you that emotion, and I'm bringing all of that energy after I have assessed, why does this bother me? Why does this affect me? Why am I super happy about this? And so I'm able to assess that emotion and actually bring it forth even more from a place of a place of security, because I know exactly where those emotions are coming from. So that's like the big thing here. You want to be proactive with your negotiation and conflict response. And I got less than a minute, but we're going to talk about teamwork and collaboration. So your teamwork and collaboration kind of goes back to that first piece we were talking about with the developing relationships. You want to build bonds and transform groups of people into teams of people. You want to create a space where those bonds can develop, and a good team takes a good leader who can do that, to encourage that. And that's where the innovation comes in. That's where we know we can rely on each other. So I can stay in my lane because I know you got your lane, right? Like, I am here supporting the person to my left and my right. And that was something, that I learned in the Army. But you have to be able to develop that synergy, for fear of using a buzzword. But that is how you're kind of able to foster interpersonal emotional effectiveness versus, so intrapersonal was very much what we talked about for self-awareness and even social awareness. A lot of that takes place almost internally, and then the self-management that takes place internally. But when we're looking at the social management piece, that's where a lot of it is, that interactions, and it builds on the other pieces. And so if you don't have those other pieces, it will absolutely impact your ability to develop relationships, be a leader, respond well to change, negotiate, and build great teams. So you have to be self-aware, you have to have social awareness, and you have to be able to manage yourself in order to have great relationships, which exist here in this social management piece. So that is what I have for you today. I went over just a little bit. Yes. Thank you so much, Francia. So she said, opening doors to communication, starting the communication to a solution. That really is the hardest part. And so because of your responses, Krissa and Francia, about when I asked if you had any relationships that you've kind of let, go a little bit, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to challenge you, especially since we're going into the weekend, I'm going to challenge you to reach out. And I don't care how you reach out. You want to call them. If you want to just send them a text message, send them an email, whatever it is. Send them a carrier pigeon with a message strapped to its leg. I don't care what it is, but I'm going to challenge you to do that, to reach out to someone whose relationship with, like, you value this relationship a lot and you just want to send them something, even if it's just a, hey, how are you doing? So that's it for me today. Again, we went a couple minutes over today, but I thank you so much for being here. Oh, Krissa, thank you, Krissa. Okay, so we had another episode. We had another episode of the Defiant Business Podcast come out just yesterday, and I am really excited about it because one of the big reasons I had Josh on the podcast in the first place was because I knew that he had an approach to SEO that other people do not have. And what I mean is that the space from where he is operating is just not present in most SEO professionals, at least the ones that keep trying to slide into my DMs. There are a few SEO professionals that I respect in this space, and Josh is definitely one of them. And the beauty of these episodes is because we went through Josh's entrepreneur journey in the episode last week, this week, like, we dive right into the meat. We dive right into the money, the deep information that I feel like people should know. So if you want to talk about SEO that's not stuffing keywords and other black hat techniques, you're going to want to listen to this week's episode of the Defiant Business Podcast. And remember, we're releasing 2 episodes every week now, one for Marketing Monday and then a guest episode on Thursday. So do be sure to share, subscribe, like it wherever you listen to your podcasts, and I will see you again tomorrow. Thanks again, Krissa, for the reminder. Bye, everyone.